out of this.
I'm pushing up, I'm pushing up.
Rotate.
No, they're rotating back, they're rotating back, they're rotating back.
You're gonna go, just rotate, guys, just rotate. Give it up, just give it up.
Right.
Nice. Rotate.
Greetings and welcome to episode number 22, double deuces, baby, of the rotation with Zhack. As always, I am here to talk some CoD League with you guys, and as excited as ever as we're getting into the nitty-gritty. The season is winding down, the light is at the end of the tunnel, and I want to slow it down a little bit. I don't want the end to be here. I want to keep experiencing CoD every single week, and I want you guys to do it with me. So make sure you stay connected with myself and the show. Hit me up on Twitter at Zhack16. Make sure you follow me so you can keep up to date with all the information, whether it be my life, what's going on with the show, or new things, hint, hint, that I have coming. Also, on YouTube, it's the same thing, Zhack16. Subscribe, like, share, comment. Give the rotation with Zhack out to all your friends, like people do on the side of the street with their mixtape, with their CDs. Do that with the rotation with Zhack. Let's grow this community. One big happy family, baby. I love all you guys. Once again, thanks so much for tuning in. I have to be honest. I struggled to find a little bit of motivation today to get everything going. I opened at work, so that had me awake at 3:30 in the morning, worked 9 hours, then I got home, let Murph out, hung out with him for a little bit, hit the bed, and I was like, oh man, I could sit here and be a lazy bum and not do anything for the rest of the afternoon. But I had to do something, guys. I had to find motivation, and I wanted to do it for myself, and I also wanted to do it for all of you who are tuning in. So what I did, I hopped my happy ass out of the bed, went downstairs to the gym and said, you know what? I'm going to do a Peloton. So thank you to my team, my family, all of you guys at Peloton. I love you all so much. You helped me get through my day, and I hope I can do the same by saying this about you. So I got my fix in today with Robin Arzon. Ooh, I think I hit that. I think I said that just how I'm supposed to. But I did a 30-minute intervals and arms ride, and let me tell you, it beat me up, but at the same time, it motivated me to be right here face-to-face with you guys. So shout out to Peloton. I love you guys. And now let's talk some Call of Duty. Let's hop straight into it. It's some First Blood. And I want to say that I'll be the first one to admit when I'm wrong, okay? I'm not going to hold back. I'm not going to lie and say, oh, no, I was telling the truth the whole time. I'll call myself out on something. If I did something wrong or said something incorrect, I will call myself out on it. And that's what I did at the beginning of the season. You guys all remember me saying it. At the beginning of this season, I said the Call of Duty League will be the most competitive esport, the most competitive Call of Duty professional league that we have ever seen. 12 teams, 4 players per roster. That is the 48 best players in the world competing against one another. It makes sense on paper, right? When I say that, I'm not crazy. That's what I thought, at least. Turns out, maybe I am crazy because the league is not as competitive as I thought it was going to be. There are 7 teams right now, and I say that because the Atlanta FaZe exist. Atlanta FaZe are upper echelon, #1, no one can touch me. Let me play this out for you real quick. The Atlanta FaZe have won 13 straight matches and hold a record of 33-4 on the season, and their map record is something ridiculous, like 114-44 overall. It's not even fun for the Atlanta FaZe anymore because they're dominating everybody. They have won 3 of the 4 major tournaments. The one they lost was the Toronto Ultra, who are one of those other 7 teams who are competing. As we know, as the format stands right now, top 8 will make playoffs, or champs rather, and be competing. I don't know how many people are going to be competing with the Atlanta FaZe when they continue to dominate. The Atlanta FaZe are a dynasty in the making. With Simp, Celium, aBeZy, and Arcides, they're different than anybody else in the league. Yeah, the Dallas Empire pushed them all 9 maps in the Stage 4 Major. Yeah, the Toronto Ultra beat them once. But the consistency and the track record that the Atlanta FaZe show, there's no touching them. They're the most dominant team in the Call of Duty League, and I will put my name on it. I will put Zhack16 and the rotation with Zhack on the fact that the Atlanta FaZe will be your 2021 CoD champs. Okay? Plain and simple. These guys are incredible, and what it does for the league is makes it less competitive because you never feel like anybody is even going to come close to touching the Atlanta FaZe. Granted, there are some teams who are hitting their stride at the correct time. Maybe when they get back to land for champs, they find that little chink in the armor because everybody knows it's there. There's a sweet spot on everything. David versus Goliath, a monster robot. You look at Megatron in Transformers, or any villain in a superhero movie. Look at Thanos, okay? Everyone thinks that they're invincible. There's a million scenarios that we play out, and there's only one that we can defeat Thanos. The Atlanta FaZe are Thanos. So there has to be one little chink in the armor somewhere that somebody has to find. The formula for me that does that is the right team, getting hot at the right time, heading into champs, the right matchups, leading up to get to the Atlanta FaZe. They pick the right maps in the veto process. They play Atlanta FaZe on whatever their weak maps are. Who knows at this point because they're so well versed in everything. And on top of that, you have to be frying. All four of you have to be on the same page, the same wavelength, and that's the only way you're going to beat the Atlanta FaZe. That's the one scenario I see where someone takes down the Atlanta FaZe at champs, is if they get too cocky, too complacent, make some minimal mistakes that get exposed, and another team takes advantage of that. Other than that, let's get back to my original take. I got off on a tangent because the Atlanta FaZe are so dominant. But the original point that I was making is that the Call of Duty League, it's not as competitive as I thought it was going to be, and we need to make adjustments for this. Right now, there's no incentive for the bottom 4 teams in the CDL, and let's be honest, they're all trash. LAG, Paris Legion, Seattle Surge, and London Royal Ravens. None of those 4 teams even have double-digit wins on the season. On top of that, those teams, their loss column looks like the top 6 teams, top 4 teams win column. The Atlanta FaZe have 32 wins, the Dallas Empire have 22, Toronto Ultra 23, Subliners 21, and OpTic Chicago 22. That's their wins. You look at the Los Angeles Guerrillas, 22 losses. Paris Legion, 19 losses. Seattle Surge and London Royal Ravens, both with 21 losses. Yikes, is what that is from me. These teams haven't come close to competing all season long. I know we got all excited when the Seattle Surge made a statement on LAN at the Stage 4 Major. Yeah, they won their first 2 matches, and then they pushed OpTic to a 5th map. They didn't win it. They looked better. I'll give it to them. They looked absolutely different on LAN than they have online. But the teams they were beating in the first 2 rounds weren't that great of competition in a loser's bracket run. Then they faced OpTic Chicago, pushed them to 5 maps. I'll give credit where credit is due, but they couldn't clutch up and do it. At the end of this all, the bottom 4 teams in the league, they have no incentive to even be competing at this point, and we've seen it come across with teams like LAG. They've made roster changes that just make you scratch your head and go wild. It's like, Chino might be the best player on that roster, and you're benching him, and then Mento comes in, and his stock is now crashing because he's just on a team that doesn't even care, doesn't want to compete anymore, and they're just getting smoked. The only incentive right now for the bottom 4 teams is the Stage 5 Major. Maybe they can go on a crazy loser's bracket run because I guarantee none of them are going to make the winner's bracket for the Stage 5 Major. So maybe they make a wild loser's bracket run, make a little bit extra guap, extra money, extra dough, whatever you want to call it. That's all they're playing for right now. There's no way they're making it to champs. I talk about the format week in and week out. We'll touch on it again in today's show with some new things, new ideas that have been brought up. But to round things out, the Call of Duty League, it's not as competitive as we wanted it to be. There's almost 4 tiers, I would say 3 or 4 tiers that you can break it down in. The Atlanta FaZe are gods. They're men amongst boys. However you want to compare it, however you want to run it, the Atlanta FaZe are the best of the best, and nobody is on their level. Next up, you have upper echelon A-tier elite teams. Those are your Toronto Ultra, and those are your Dallas Empire. Maybe you can throw OpTic Chicago in there. Right now, the New York Subliners are struggling. The New York Subliners have been in that tier before, but I think the way they're performing lately, they dropped down a little bit. Maybe they can gain some confidence in their match against London Royal Ravens this week for the Minnesota Rocker home series. That's tier 2. Then you move down to tier 3. These are teams who can compete. That's the rest of those top 7 teams that you look at. That's the Minnesota Rocker, Florida Mutineers, New York Subliners, and who else am I missing? Who else of those top teams am I missing? Los Angeles Thieves, especially with their roster change. I like the way that John is making them look as a team and a collective unit. But other than that, then you have your 4th tier, your final tier, your bottom tier. It's the Los Angeles Guerrillas, Paris Legion, and Seattle Surge. That's how everything breaks down. There's 4 tiers to this league. Plain and simple, it's not as competitive as we thought it was going to be. That's my first blood take. Now it's time to transition here. Let's get into it. The Barracks news and notes from around the league. A lot of crazy things happening as we're approaching the Stage 5 Major here with the Minnesota Rocker home series, and even as we get closer and closer to champs. There's a lot of storylines, a lot of bullet points to hit, and some news that's come out. The first thing I want to talk about, though, is an observation that I've had lately, and it's certain teams turning up and sliding spots in those power rankings that I just touched on in the tiers of teams as the competition level goes in the Call of Duty League. I think the 2 biggest storylines to point out right now are that OpTic are turning up and finding their stride at the correct time, and also I have a little bit of worry surrounding the New York Subliners and the way that they've struggled lately. First off, I want to touch on OpTic. They've won a couple of big matches in their past couple to start Stage 5 here at the NYSL home series, and now it's a big week for them. At the Minnesota Rocker home series, OpTic Chicago are taking on Atlanta FaZe. This is a moment where I think we can see what these guys are made of, and it doesn't have to be a win. I think if OpTic Chicago can compete with Atlanta FaZe, push them, win a map or 2 on them, make things tight, make Atlanta FaZe sweat a little bit, then there's a storyline there of OpTic Chicago being able to compete at the Stage 5 Major and that they're in the right spot for champs. I talk about this from a standpoint of traditional sports. When you look at Major League Baseball, these guys play 162 games in a season. It's dreadful sometimes. It's boring to go through it, but when you break it down for teams, it's not about how you start. It's about how you finish. When October comes around, when postseason baseball is here, the team that is streaking and hot at the right time heading into the playoffs, that is typically the team who finds success, makes a run even if they didn't win the pennant. If they go into the wild card, win that matchup, then they win a series, ALDS, ALCS, make it to the World Series, they win that. Same thing goes for the Call of Duty League. I think some of these middle tier teams, the top 7 outside of the Atlanta FaZe at number 1, if they can make the right move at the right time and get hot, then they can make that run in postseason form. The team that I think is poised to do it most is OpTic Chicago. The way they're performing right now, they're finally on the same page. Everyone is settling into their role and they're understanding how they need to play to support one another, and each of them are having those big pop-off matches. Scumpy has been phenomenal all season long. He's played incredible. It's one of his best CODs we've seen in a while. On top of that, the other 3 have kind of been interchangeable, where one week, Envoy's been stellar, Formal struggled, Dashy struggled, Formal's been great. Stuff like that has happened to OpTic Chicago. Now they're finding consistency. All of them are performing, they're making the right plays, doing the right things, playing smart, picking up kills, and turning each other up. The confidence is there, the mood is there. I think LAN helped boost them, so I watch out for them to make a run. On the flip side of that, a team who's struggling with the past couple of matches, the New York Subliners. They lost both their matches at their home series, and I think that this can raise a red flag, a little bit of caution for these guys. But if there's one thing that holds true and stays consistent with the New York Subliners, it's Clayster. If anyone on any team in the Call of Duty League will get the mindset right of a roster, rally the troops at the correct time, and make adjustments that are needed in the midst and the heat of battle, it's Clayster. So while they're struggling right now to find wins, I think they have a bounce-back matchup. This week in Minnesota's home series, they play the London Royal Ravens. That's a softball. It's a lob shot. You should knock it out of the park. I think the New York Subliners get back on track. They gain confidence, find some success, but that doesn't get them out of the woods. They're not out of the hot water. I love this roster. I like these guys. I like what the team is comprised of. This isn't me taking a deuce on the New York Subliners. It's me just observing they're not the same team that they have been. Like Major 2, 3, and even in 4, they were hot. They looked really good. They made it to a grand finals, and now they've digressed. The bar has lowered. We know what the ceiling is, but they got to keep their floor, is how I look at the New York Subliners. While I'm on the topic of other teams shaking it up and how people are performing and what teams can do what, make certain runs maybe, I think a couple teams who are poised and maybe could be your dark horse for champs stage 5 major as we get there, the Minnesota Rocker. Really like the way they look. Priesta is finding his stride in a little bit of a flex role. Major Maniac in the AR slot. Standy is disgusting. A lot of people are calling him top 3 for Rookie of the Year. I think he can make a push towards the end of the season to be in the conversation with Insight for Rookie of the Year. Right now, it's Standy, Insight, and Hydra. Those are the 3 who are up there. Standy's a difference maker. Then you have Attached to complement him. The Minnesota Rocker are my dark horse team. If they can tune some things up, make things right on a couple of different maps and modes, they stand a chance to make some waves in these final 2 major tournaments of the Cold War season. Let me know what you guys think. Hit me up in the comments here on YouTube, Zhack16. Who do you think is poised to make a playoff run? I don't know. I think that the Minnesota Rocker are my choice. I think OpTic are making a move right now and finding their stride. So those are the 2 who I would say don't be surprised if they finish strong. I was going to say maybe OpTic can knock down FaZe and champs. I don't know. I just think FaZe are too good. FaZe are too damn good. Now that it's popped in my mind, though, one more dark horse, the Florida Mutineers. I think they've gotten everything right. I think that roster works really, really well. When they got Slacked on the bench, I love Slacked, but he just wasn't working for this team. When you bring Havoc and what he does to complement Neptune and how they can play with one another in different roles, but as submachine gun players, where Havoc's more of the route man, and you see Neptune making flashy plays, big kills, and running routes at the same time, that's a combination for success along with the slaying prowess of Skies and Big Wake. Florida Mutineers, not only do they have dope branding, a dope logo, sweet colors, a great social media team, they're playing out of their minds right now. Watch for them to make a run at champs as well. That's everyone I'm going to touch on for my storylines as we head in to champs and get things rocking and rolling there. And the next thing that we have to touch on for the topics is the Minnesota Rocker home series. I think it's time to pull out predictions of what things we think are going to come into fruition and what's going to happen for the Minnesota Rocker home series. So I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've been on a little bit of a heater with pick'ems lately. In NYSL's home series, I'm pretty sure I dropped 27. Yeah, 27 big points in the NYSL home series. I only got one match wrong. That one, I don't think it'll be my demise throughout Stage 5. So now to get into my pick'ems for the Minnesota Rocker home series, kicking it off on the first day, Thursday, Ultra, Gorillas, and Rocker Surge. Oh, man. I got excited, thought it was going to be hype, and it's not going to be hype at all. In my opinion, Toronto Ultra will take it 3-1. Maybe Seattle Surge can pick up a map off Rocker. I think I misspoke there. Ultra are going to 3-0 the Gorillas. That's plain and simple. There's nothing to question there. That's going to be the final result in that series. Picking up a map is what I was talking about. I think Seattle may be able to do one on Minnesota, but for the most part, I think the Rocker roster is just too good, too dominant, and they'll take it. Moving on to the next day, Empire versus the Mutineers and FaZe versus LA Thieves. Empire and Mutineers can get interesting, in my opinion. I talked about the Florida Mutineers as one of my dark horse teams as we head into champs. I think they could certainly win this matchup, if I'm being honest. The Dallas Empire have looked good. I know they pushed Atlanta FaZe all the way to 9 maps in the best of 9 for the Stage 4 major. But Florida, there's just something about that roster that makes me feel some type of way. I think I could see it going 3-2 in favor of the Mutineers. That one is going to be a tight one. As we get into the next series, LA Thieves and Atlanta FaZe. I do like the addition of John to the LA Thieves roster, but it's not enough to get it done against the Atlanta FaZe. I think that the LA Thieves, they may pick up a single map in this series, try and prove their point. I think that Kenny is something special. Him and Draza have been a good duo with one another, and John is just a really nice addition. He's a great player. We've seen what he can do throughout the years, but it's not good enough to take down the Atlanta FaZe. I have 3-1 FaZe in this matchup. That takes us over to Saturday. We have Subliners Royal Ravens, Mutineers LAG, and Ultra versus Surge. This might be 3 sleepers, for goodness sake. Subliners versus Royal Ravens. I think that the Subliners still have their woes. They have some struggles, but this is a match where they can gain confidence against the Royal Ravens. I think they will drop a map. I don't think that things will get too dicey and scary for them. They bounce back from the losses they took in their home series. They beat the Royal Ravens 3-1. The next one of the bottom teams in the league, the Los Angeles Guerrillas, struggling, roster change, haven't been able to put it together. I have them getting 3-0'd by the Florida Mutineers. Florida are too good. It's just a roster and a recipe for success, especially against this team. I think Skies will go huge. I think Neptune will go huge. Awakening and Havoc, they'll step into their roles, do the right thing, and get the job done. Last matchup of that day, Toronto versus Seattle. This is the easiest week of the season that Toronto has ever seen. It's going to be back-to-back 3-0s for them. They 3-0 the Los Angeles Guerrillas, in my opinion, on Thursday, and they do it again against Seattle on Saturday. The predictions, they feel like they're coming pretty easy this week. I have good vibes, good feelings about this, and when we head into the final day, Sunday, you have the LA Thieves versus Paris Legion, FaZe, OpTic. Circle that one on your calendar. We don't know what could happen, but I think FaZe will win it probably. I'm foreshadowing. And then the last one, Empire versus Rocker. That one could get nitty-gritty. First matchup, there's been crazy rumors and struggles with the Paris Legion where apparently Scraps retired and then now he's come back, and then what is going on? Are they playing with him? Are they not playing with him? So I think Paris are just in a bad spot. They've chalked the season, it feels like. Maybe they come out a little bit inspired. They try to prove a point. I don't really know. I think LA Thieves, they're still in contention. They're going to be competing at CoD Champs. Thieves, they'll play really well, and I think that they take it 3-1 on Sunday in this series. The next matchup, FaZe OpTic. I think we all want it to go 5 maps, so I'll predict it going 5 maps. I think OpTic will play inspired because the role has reversed throughout time. I think all throughout history of Call of Duty, OpTic, they've talked about it. They have the target on their backs. Everyone is turning up, leaning forward in their gaming chair, squeezing on the extra gamer grip every time they play against OpTic. I think that's what the league is doing against FaZe this year because they're so dominant, they're dynamic, they're an incredible roster. I think everyone has it out for FaZe, so I think OpTic will have that motivation and that method of turning up against the best team. Don't think they'll be able to get it done. Atlanta FaZe are too good. They close out series. When push comes to shove, they get it done. I think they finish at 3-2 in the final series of this Minnesota Rocker home series. I think we give it to the home team. I think the Rocker take down the Dallas Empire. How tight is this one going to be? I could see Minnesota losing first hardpoint, winning S&D, winning control, winning hardpoint. I think I could see it going 3-1 in favor of Minnesota. And that will round out my predictions for what I have going on here for the Minnesota Rocker home series. Let me know what you guys think. Send me pictures of your brackets on Twitter, however you want to get those to me. I want to talk about it. I want to hear what you guys to say, and I'm excited about it. The next topic that we have to talk about, this is something that I heard that has come up throughout the league, but specifically when I was listening to the eavesdrop, Hector had Octane on for the second time around. Shout out to those guys. They're doing great things. Maddie, Hex, you're incredible. Love the podcast. I listen to it every single time you guys have an episode. It inspires creators like me to get out and do it. I'm done patting your back. Get out of here. You got your credit. You got your praise for the day. But to talk about what Octane and Hex spoke on a little bit, I've been saying it for a long time. They've been talking about players in the Call of Duty League creating content and pushing it out there to help the league grow. Now, I think that there's a way and a misconception that people go about looking at this. When people hear this, they say, oh, these guys are scrimming for 8 hours a day already. They can't do content. That's not true. Look at what OpTic is doing, and look at what Octane said. In this piece, to kind of play it down for you, Octane said it's not an excuse. It's not hard to get in front of your camera, record yourself talking, a reaction video, some gameplay, something for 10 minutes, and then you send it to someone who edits it for you, then you post it on your YouTube. That's not hard to do. Now, if we're talking someone trying to scrim and then stream for 6 hours, that takes a lot. That takes energy, but that's not what we're looking for. This isn't what we're trying to see out of the CDL players. Here's the thing. The fans want to see the personalities. How has OpTic grown such a big brand? Since back in the 60-50 days at the Scuff House and on forever, they have provided us with content. Everyone gravitates towards OpTic Gaming because you feel like you're a part of these guys' lives. You feel like you know them because you see Hitch vlogging at the house and there's a video of Scump doing something funny and you're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm there with them. I'm laughing at that. I get to immerse myself in that content. That's what we want to see, because then us as fans grow to enjoy and fall in love with these personalities and players. And if we haven't been watching the Call of Duty League, we're like, man, that guy's funny. What does he do? Oh, he's a professional Call of Duty player. I'm going to go watch that. OpTic has grown the Call of Duty viewership throughout the years by itself by creating content and growing personalities. Nadeshot, Big Timer, Scump, Crimsix, Formal, all these guys have bought in to what Hex has preached, and it's gone a long way. I'm not asking every player in the Call of Duty League to go out and stream for 8 hours a day to grow content. But look at it like this. Professional athletes have a responsibility to adhere to every single week. They have to do media. It's in their contract after a game. If the media wants a certain guy, they're there for the interview. Now you can do Marshawn Lynch, I'm just here so I don't get fined, but it's a lot better for the fans and for new viewers when you do provide that content. We're not asking you for anything crazy, but there's a responsibility. How would you grow to like Tom Brady if he never does an interview and shows his personality? Now more than ever, he's doing crazy stuff. He's posting on his Twitter, and look at that. More fans of Tom Brady coming out of the woodworks, watching Buccaneers football now. That gives ratings to the NFL. It'll be the same thing for the Call of Duty League. And in my opinion, it's not necessarily on the individual players, but it comes down to the organization. They have to put things together. Yes, the Call of Duty League, after matches, they interview players, get their thoughts, great. We want to see more of their personality. We don't want to see cliche answers at the end of a match. Oh yeah, we worked really hard, we played well, went into it, we watched VODs before this match, and yeah, we got it done. Picked up the kills in the right spot. We really stayed on our rotations, played sound hard point, S&D, we traded really well. No one wants to hear that. Yeah, it's great to get that input at the end of a match, but we want the personality. So it should come to the orgs like OpTic does. Hey, content day. Look at what FaZe is doing with the documentary. After every series, Unfazed has been incredible. Watching what they did after the Stage 4 Major with that episode, it's great. They play their match, then they sit down and get interviews. They interview the players, the personality comes out, and Alec, for example, Arcides, he's hilarious. He says, oh yeah, Celium said something really funny to me before the match. It got me going, got me hyped up. He said, boy, I'm going to come over here and kiss you. Give me a hug. Something like that. And that's the personality and the insight we want to see as fans. So we're not asking for these players to do crazy content, have a whiteboard in their house and draw up like, oh man, I got to put together 26 YouTube videos for this month. I can only take 4 days off. And if I don't do this, I'm going to be screwed. No, it's on the organization to think of some content pieces, get the guys there, get them on a Discord call, whatever it may be, and record a video. Do something funny, reaction video, have a day in the life, review a cheeseburger, do anything that we can do to get in on your personality. Play 1v1s against each other for 10 minutes and laugh and quickscope and do that. That's the kind of stuff we want to see, because that's when the personalities come out. In the middle of that little 1v1, someone will smack talk someone and the fans will love that. It'll be hilarious. So I think, yes, content should be a thing, and on top of that, it will help views grow in the league. Everyone trashes the Call of Duty League for no reason about viewership, and I hate it because they get good views. Maybe not concurrent, but after the matter of fact, the views are there for the CDL, and it's still growing. It's in its infancy. It hasn't had the opportunity to do all the home series stuff that it wanted to. But content from the pros and personalities in the league would most definitely help raise the bar for viewership. Get everyone together, get everyone to hang out, get rowdy, get wild, interview after matches. It's simple stuff. It's really easy to do. It's not even doing stuff on your own independent channel or streaming. It's doing stuff together as a collective unit so us as fans can get a little snippet, a little slice of the cheese on the inside personality of who you are, of who Draws is, who Attaches, who Standy is, who Illy is. That's what we want to see. That can grow a fan base for certain teams and for the CDL as a whole, and I think it would help the entire situation. Let's move on from what I have to say on players getting content out there. I think I beat a dead horse on that one. I would love to see a lot of it. I'd love to see more teams hop in on it. But for the time being, it is what it is. I think it should be a requirement. We should get their interviews and whatnot. The next thing that has been a hot topic over the past couple of weeks is it's still the champs format. Everyone is still getting rowdy about it. They're like, why are there only 8 teams there? We should have 12 teams competing. What can we do? Rumor this and rumor that. So here's what I have to say. First of all, it's exciting, and I'll start with this, because we have LAN back for Stage 5 Major and LAN for Champs with fans. Thank you. We're back with fans. We get people there. Hopefully, your boy, Zhack, can get a media pass, maybe. Get there, do some interviews, behind-the-scenes work for you guys. I don't know. I think you'd like to see it. I'd enjoy doing it, but I digress. So apart from that, it's going to be great to have the fans there. The environment will be great, and I think this is really a testing period for the Call of Duty League for how it's going to be for the rest of time. What will we see? How will the fans enjoy it? In-person viewership, online viewership. I think the players will feed off the energy of fans, the environment of people screaming. I don't know how things will shape up. I don't know if we'll still have meet and greets and scuff signing booth and pictures and Hilton bar type hangout with everything with COVID, but at least we'll get fans in the arena at a nice place. They'll be able to cheer. They'll be able to get rowdy and root for their team. So these players feel like they have supporters of them and they can abide by the rules and do great and bring energy for the league. So that's number one. That's going to be incredible. We're talking about format, though. I don't think it's going to change. Plain and simple, I think we're too late. I don't think the Call of Duty League will change the format, but that doesn't mean we don't have time to brainstorm some things to make next season better. People have said they're not happy with the format. They're not happy with what's going on with the league. We can improve it. Listen, there are some tough things out there. I'll tell you what we would all love to see. We would all love to see it like the old days, like the Call of Duty World League days where you would have 12 teams, so all your CDL teams are there. You do 4 pools, put 3 teams in each pool. 3, 6, 9, 12. A, B, C, D. Someone get a beat under that. I can make a track right there and do a little rap to it. But anyways, 3 teams in 4 pools. Then what do? The challengers have their champs a week earlier. All the challengers team, you can either select 4 or 8. The top 8 or the top 4 challengers teams each get dispersed into a pool and they can compete at champs. Crazy Cinderella story, a wild upset. You could see a challengers team beat the LA Gorillas. That is the first method, what I would think would be absolutely awesome to see. The problem is we're in a franchise league, so we're never going to see it. These guys, to be team owners and have a franchise team, are paying upwards of 30 mil to get that team. So they're not going to let challengers teams compete. It sucks. It would be an awesome format, but it's not going to happen. Idea number 2 that would help, expansion. Obviously, if we go from 12 to 16 teams next year, then maybe you could do the format that we had this year where the bottom 4 are out. So you have 12 teams at champs, or if you want to, just put all 16 teams into champs, no matter how bad they are, and have the double elimination bracket, whatever it may be. All 16 teams are there, the same thing. 4 different pools competing against each other to go winners bracket, losers bracket, double elimination for the winners guys, single elimination for the losers guys. Everyone plays. It's an abundance of Call of Duty. All the fans are enjoying it. LAN is happening. It's popping. We're getting drunk. We're hanging out with players. We're getting autographs. Everything we love to do. That's what the fans on the team, that's what the fans want to do and the players on the team want to see. Expansion would assist so much. 16 teams, simple champs format. Pool play, 4 pools, 4 teams. Everyone plays each other. Top teams get seeded in winners bracket. Bottom teams get seeded in losers bracket. Double elimination for the winners bracket. Single elimination for the losers bracket. How easy is that? That is simple, and that is scenario number 2. The third and final scenario that we may be able to see here, I think it could work out, is like we see in some soccer leagues and we've seen in League of Legends in the past. Relegation. For example, this year, and you could find a more enhanced way to do this, but this year, maybe it's just the bottom team, maybe it's the bottom 2 teams, maybe it's the bottom 4 teams. So the LA Gorillas, let's say they're the worst team. They get relegated. They're kicked out of the league. The top challengers team, whoop, they go to that franchise owner, and that is the new LA Gorillas. But that's a roster thing. So maybe that doesn't work. But an ownership deal where that challengers team, whoever they're managed by, however they work, LAG, they get relegated. That challengers team, they're plugged in, and they are now in the Call of Duty League for next year. At the bare minimum, underneath that, the bottom 4 teams are in relegation matches, and they have to compete against the top 4 teams and challengers. We somehow form a tournament. Whoever comes out there, so those Call of Duty League pro teams can stay alive by winning their matches, stay in the league, or they could lose, get relegated, and a challengers team who won and performed well, they could be put into the league for next year. That's more of a league format thing than champs by itself, but I think my 2 champs format takes are great. The second one will be the best. Time will tell. If we can expand the league to 16 teams, it is absolutely perfect for a champs format. Allow everyone to be there. Okay? All 16 teams will be in champs. 4 different pools. Pool A, B, C, D. 4 teams in each pool. You compete against each other round robin style. The top records go to winner's bracket. The bottom records go to loser's bracket. And then in winner's bracket, you get a double elimination opportunity. In loser's bracket, single elimination opportunity. That way, no one gets to complain that not every team is at champs. There's no flukes. The best of the best are there competing against another, and give someone an advantage. If they were like a best team in the season, they get to like pick their pool or draw whatever pool they're into. Something along those lines. That would make everybody happy. Plain and simple. That's my solution for everything. I think that's how it goes, and I think it's an incredible idea. Let me know what your solution is for a champs format. I know we're struggling with it. We want to see something great happen. Let's figure it out together. Who wants to talk some fantasy? Anyone into some fantasy Call of Duty right now? Let's start it off. Let's get into it. A little bit of buy or sell. Buy or sell. Call of Duty League Fantasy. Couple of points for buy or sell, and I've switched it up for you guys. So previously in buy or sell, I made it like stardom situm basically, and that's a different conversation than what I want to have in buy or sell for fantasy. I want to present opportunities and scenarios that could happen, and you guys could be deciding around, and thoughts that are in your head for the week for fantasy, and give you my advice on that. So the first buy or sell point, for example, is am I buying or selling Insight to have an 85 plus point week? 100%. I buy this. I think the schedule for Toronto is the easiest schedule that they've seen all season long, and one of the easiest in the league. In the Minnesota home series, they face the LA Gorillas and Seattle Surge. I think not only can Insight be a difference maker in both these series, I think he has close to a 100-point performance this week for fantasy. I think 80, 85 is kind of a low line, so I had it set at 85. Maybe to make it a little more spicy and enticing, I set it at 90. I think I would still buy this. Insight is incredible, has been incredible all season long. I think he exceeds the 85-point or 90-point benchmark this week in the Minnesota Rocker home series, so get him on your fantasy team ASAP. The next one I want to talk about, OpTic Chicago, is Dashy to have an 80-point outing in his match against the Atlanta FaZe. This is tight, but I'm selling this. So I think Dashy could be a top performer in the AR slot for OpTic, and I think if the price is right, maybe you take a shot on him, but I don't think I'd take anyone on OpTic except for Scump for fantasy purposes. I think Scump has been a performer all season long. He's finding his stride, and as I said at the beginning of the episode, he is one of the best this season. This has been one of his best titles in a while, since maybe AWIW time. So I think he's the real sole player who I would buy into on OpTic. I think that Dashy goes under the 80-point margin. I think I see him more around the 70 to 75-point range this week, which is still nothing to bat an eye at, but I just don't see him eclipsing that 80-point mark. I'm selling on Dashy for 80 points. Let me know what you guys think of the new buy or sell format. I like this more than doing what I did before, which was basically just like start 'em, sit 'em. So I think this is a lot better of a format for me. Next fantasy topic that we have to get into in a little bit of a transition. Let's talk about what I anticipate for some CDL fantasy standouts this week. Fantasy standouts from the CDL. There's a couple of players that catch my eye. And in particular, in this first point that I have, there are 4 players that catch my eye. Those 4 players are Insight, Cammy, Kleenex, and Bance. Hammer the Toronto Ultra in your fantasy league this week, please. If you're doing a redraft or if you have those players on your roster, I got those mixed up. If you're doing a draft royale, slam the Toronto Ultra. If you're doing a redraft, play the Toronto players that you have on your roster. Because these guys have the matchup of a lifetime this week. They're playing LAG and Seattle. Start them all. So what you're looking for, the budget is going to be high. I think you try and get 2 of them on your roster if you're in a draft royale. I think you can afford to get someone like Insight and Kleenex or an Insight and Cammy or Insight and Bance combination. Insight, you notice is the name I'm saying a lot. I expect him to have a gargantuan week. Focus on the Toronto Ultra players, slam Insight, get at least one of them on your draft royale roster. If you have one of them, you are looking good for your matchup and redraft this week. The next player I look out as a standout is Standy. I think he'll perform extremely well. I like the matchups that I see for the Minnesota Rocker this week. I enjoy what they'll do. I think they'll have a tight one on Sunday against Dallas. But I believe that Standy will still show up. He's one of the best players in the league. Like I said, in contention for Rookie of the Year. I think he shows up this week in the home series, out for the squad, and he gets it done. Those are the 5 players, technically, that I'm highlighting for fantasy standouts this week because the entire Toronto Ultra roster is on my list. And on top of that, Standy is a guy to look out for. Final thing we have to do. Getting kind of tired heading towards the end of the episode. Not really. I never get tired talking COD with you guys, but you already know what segment's coming up next. Let's hit some sleepers. CDL Fantasy Sleepers. These sleepers that I'm looking at, some of the matchups you may not find enticing, but I think are absolutely incredible to look at and play this week. The first player I look at comes from the Florida Mutineers. I like him as the addition to the roster. I've talked about this time and time again. It's Havoc. I think the Route Man gets paid, and the Route Man will pick up kills this week. I think Havoc is a guy who you can look at for a low budget. If you're combining 2 Toronto players in a draft royale, you get like Insight and Cammy or Insight and Bance. Look at another utility player, another utility spot on your roster. Find Havoc. I think that they have a good match against the Dallas Empire this week, and I think that Havoc will show up, show out, and play pretty much stellar in all of the time that he sees on the map this week. We know he's an SND god. He's a king on the map in that scenario. I watch out for Havoc to perform. Get him on your roster. The next player I look at, another sleeper, comes from the LA Thieves, and it's Kenny. The first matchup on the week against the Atlanta FaZe, maybe you don't like it because FaZe have been so dominant in the league this season, but I think Kenny is just that guy. He's that guy, pal. He's that guy. Boots on the ground, it's just his vibe. I think he finally has found some confidence settling down with the new team. He likes Straza, likes Slasher, and John has been nothing but good vibes so far, and I think he opens a lot of things up on the map. I think that the way that LA plays this week, they're going to play well. They're going to try and hold their own as best as they can against Atlanta FaZe. And in the second matchup of the week, I think that Kenny comes out and plays pretty spectacularly and gets the job done. Final sleeper I have for the week, and this is going to be the final thing we talk about to round out the show today. It's Vivid. The Dallas Empire have a couple of matches. The first one, I think it's going to be a tough one against the Florida Mutineers on the week. And then when I go back into my pick'em, you kind of see what the Dallas Empire have to look at moving forward. But I think that Vivid can get the job done. I think despite the matchup against the Florida Mutineers being tight and tough, I feel like he'll still perform, and I feel like he's coming in to his role and finding his stride as a player on this Empire roster. Then later on in the weekend for the Dallas Empire in their final match against the Minnesota Rocker, even though I have Minnesota winning this, I think Vivid will still be a top performer for this team. I feel like he's kind of turning into the star and the guy who is shining on the Dallas Empire roster. Those are my 3 sleepers. Look out for them to get it done. Make sure you guys are tuning into Twitter all week to see what I have to say about fantasy, what's going on, and what moves you can make. That's going to wrap it up. That's it. Man, we got through it, and I love it. That'll do it for this episode of The Rotation with Zhack, number 22. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, and comment here on YouTube. Follow me on Twitter at Zhack16. Share it with friends, family, and everyone who loves the Call of Duty League. Thanks so much, everyone, once again, and we'll see you next time. Peace.